April 2nd, 1945. 10:47 a.m. Sky over Schweinfurt, Germany. First, Lieutenant Bruce Carr is leading a reconnaissance patrol of 4 P-51 Mustangs at 15,000 feet. The war in Europe has less than 6 weeks left. Everyone can feel it. German resistance is collapsing. Most missions these days involve ground support, strafing, retreating columns, hitting supply lines. Air-to-air combat has become rare, which makes what Carr is about to see even more shocking. His eyes catch movement above. Not 1 or 2 aircraft. A massive formation, stacked between 18,000 and 25,000 feet. He counts quickly. 60 aircraft. Maybe more. Bf-109s and FW-190s mixed together. The largest concentration of German fighters he's seen in 6 months. Carr does the math in his head. For Americans, 60 Germans. They have altitude advantage, numerical advantage, positional advantage. 15-to-1 odds. Every tactical manual ever written says the same thing. Disengage. Report the sighting. Let the bomber escort squadrons handle this. Get your 4 aircraft home safely. Live to fight another day. But Bruce Carr has spent the last year proving that manuals are just suggestions. He keys his radio to his wingman. 1 word. Engaging. There's a pause. Less than a second. His wingmen have flown with Carr before. They know what he's capable of. They know his record. When Carr says engaging, he's not asking for opinions. The 4 Mustangs turn and climb into the German formation. In the next 7 minutes, they will destroy 15 German fighters, 0 American losses. And Bruce Carr will personally shoot down 5 enemy aircraft, becoming the last ace in a day in the European theater of World War II. But to understand why a 21-year-old pilot decides to attack a formation 15 times his size, you need to understand who Bruce Carr was long before Union Springs, New York. Summer 1939. Bruce Ward Carr was born January 28, 1924. There was nothing remarkable about his childhood. Farm country, small town, working-class family. The kind of place where most kids grow up, work the land, maybe move to the city if they're ambitious. Carr was 15 when he met Earl, a local crop duster who ran an aerial application business out of a grass strip on the edge of town. Earl needed help loading pesticide drums. Carr needed summer work, until one afternoon when Earl looked at the kid and said, "You want to take the controls for a minute?" That minute changed everything. The aircraft was a Stearman biplane, open cockpit, radial engine, simple controls. Earl showed Carr the basics: stick, rudder pedals, throttle. Don't touch anything else until I tell you. Carr took the stick. The biplane responded instantly to his inputs. Light on the controls. Eager to maneuver. For 10 minutes, Earl let the 15-year-old farm kid fly straight and level over the New York countryside. When they landed, Carr was hooked. The year matters. September 1939. Germany invaded Poland. World War II began. A 15-year-old kid in upstate New York couldn't know that within 5 years he'd be dogfighting Messerschmitts over Berlin. But some part of him must have sensed that flying was about to become the most important skill a young man could possess. For the next 2 years, Carr worked for Earl, loading pesticide, mixing chemicals, maintaining the aircraft. In exchange, Earl gave him stick time. By 16, Carr logged more flight hours than most Army Air Corps cadets. Earl taught him something else, something that wouldn't appear in any flight manual. When conventional approaches don't work, improvise. When the textbook says it's impossible, try it. The worst that happens is you prove the textbook right. Carr never forgot that lesson. December 7th, 1941. Pearl Harbor. America enters the war. September 3rd, 1942. Bruce Carr enlists in the United States Army Air Forces. He's 18 years old, the minimum age for combat pilots. At the Aviation Cadet Training Program, something unusual happens. His instructor reviews Carr's application and sees 240 flight hours already logged. More than twice what most cadets arrive with. The instructor's name, Earl. The same crop duster from Union Springs had joined up 6 months earlier. Earl takes one look at Carr's flight record and recommends him for the accelerated program, advanced training for pilots who already know the basics. By August 1943, Carr is a flight officer. By February 1944, he's in England. Assignment: 353rd Fighter Squadron, 354th Fighter Group, 9th Air Force. The Pioneer Mustang Group, the first Army Air Forces unit in Europe to fly P-51s in combat. These aren't training pilots. These are the men who wrote the manual on Mustang operations. Carr fits right in. Let's talk about the P-51 Mustang, because to understand what Carr accomplished, you need to understand the machine he flew. The P-51D Mustang is, by every objective measure, the finest propeller-driven fighter aircraft ever built. Range 1,650 miles with drop tanks. That's enough to escort bombers from England to Berlin and back. Before the Mustang, American fighters couldn't make the round trip. Bombers flew unescorted deep into Germany. The result? Catastrophic losses. October 14, 1943. The 2nd Schweinfurt raid, the 8th Air Force sent 291 B-17 flying fortresses to destroy ball-bearing factories in central Germany. No fighter escort for the final leg. German interceptors swarmed the formation. 60 bombers shot down, another 17 damaged beyond repair. 600 men killed or captured, all in a single mission. The Mustang changed everything. Top speed, 437 miles per hour at 25,000 feet, fast enough and high enough to intercept any German aircraft. Strong enough to dive away from trouble, maneuverable enough to dogfight. Armament: 650 caliber M2 Browning machine guns, 3 in each wing, 1,880 rounds total. Each gun fires 800 rounds per minute. That's 4,800 rounds per minute combined. A 2-second burst delivers 160 rounds, enough to shred a German bomber, cripple a fighter, or saw a train in half. For German pilots, the P-51 was a nightmare. Fast enough to catch them, maneuverable enough to outfight them, numerous enough that they appeared everywhere. Bruce Carr falls in love with the P-51 instantly. He names his aircraft Angel's Playmate. The cockpit fits him like it was built for his dimensions. The controls respond smoothly. The visibility is perfect. The power is intoxicating. March 8, 1944. Flight Officer Carr's first combat engagement. The mission is routine. Bomber escort over Western Germany. The bombers complete their run without incident. Carr's flight is returning to base when someone spots a single aircraft below. A Messerschmitt Bf-109, flying low and fast, heading east. Carr doesn't hesitate. He breaks formation and dives. The chase covers 40 miles. Both aircraft are flying at 400 miles per hour, barely clearing the German forests. Trees flash past on both sides. One mistake, one moment of inattention, and either pilot will cartwheel through the forest. Carr fires. Misses. The 109 jinks left. Carr follows. Fires again. One round clips the 109's left wing. The German pilot panics. He pulls up, climbs to 500 feet. Ejects. But he's misjudged his altitude. The parachute deploys, but there isn't enough time for it to fully inflate. The pilot hits the ground at 60 miles per hour. He doesn't survive. Carr returns to base. He's expecting congratulations, his first kill. Instead, his commanding officer calls him into the office. Carr, that was the most over-aggressive flying I've ever witnessed. You chased that German for 40 miles at treetop level. You nearly killed yourself a dozen times. There's a pause. The kill doesn't count. You didn't shoot him down. He killed himself trying to escape from you. Technically, the officer is right. Carr's bullets didn't destroy the aircraft. The pilot's panic did, but it's the first indication that Bruce Carr doesn't think like other pilots. Where his commanding officer sees recklessness, Carr sees results. The pattern is starting to emerge. June 17, 1944. 11 days after D-Day. Carr scores his first official kill. His flight is providing air cover over the Normandy beachhead when they spot German fighters attempting to strafe Allied positions. For FW-190s, flying low and fast, making attack runs on American troops. Carr and his wingmen die. The FW-190s see them coming and turn to engage. Dogfight at 2,000 feet, turning, diving, climbing. Both sides firing, tracers crisscrossing the sky above the invasion beaches. Carr gets behind an FW-190, fires. The German fighter trails smoke, noses over, crashes into a field. Carr's wingman destroys a second FW-190 seconds later. Half credit for one FW-190 destroyed. Carr's first official kill. 2 months later, he makes second lieutenant. September 12, 1944. This is where the pattern becomes undeniable. The mission brief is straightforward. Strafe a German airfield near the French-German border. Destroy aircraft on the ground. Hit fuel depots. Disrupt operations. Carr's flight arrives at the target. The airfield is active. German aircraft are visible, parked in Junkersruhe. 88 bombers, mostly twin-engine medium bombers, valuable targets. Carr leads the strafing run. The 4 Mustangs dive from 8,000 feet, accelerate to 400 miles per hour, level off at 50 feet. The airfield erupts in tracers and flak. Carr's Mustang shudders from impacts, small caliber rounds punching through the wings, the fuselage. Nothing critical. He holds the trigger down. 650 caliber guns firing simultaneously. Tu-88s explode. Fuel tanks rupture. Ammunition cooks off. The 4 Mustangs pull up, climbing away from the target. Behind them, the airfield is burning. Mission successful. They turn for home. That's when someone spots the German fighters. 30 FW-190s, 2,000 feet below them, flying in loose formation. The smart play is to avoid them. 4 Mustangs versus 30 FW-190s, 7-to-1 odds. Carr doesn't hesitate. He rolls, inverted, and dives. His wingmen follow. They always follow. What happens in the next 3 minutes is chaos. 30 German fighters, startled by 4 Mustangs diving into their formation. The Germans scatter. Some break left, some break right. No coordination, no plan. Just panic. Carr picks a target, an FW-190 trying to dive away. He follows, fires. The FW-190's right wing shears off. The aircraft tumbles, spinning, crashing into the forest below. Carr shifts to another target, another FW-190, this one climbing, trying to gain altitude. Carr fires. The canopy shatters. The FW-190 rolls inverted and plummets. Third kill. Another FW-190 attempting to escape at low altitude. Carr chases, fires. The German fighter trails smoke, crashes into a hillside. 3 kills in 3 minutes. But now Carr's wingman is taking fire. A German pilot has gotten behind him, is firing, scoring hits. The Mustang's engine is streaming coolant. Carr breaks off his attack, turns toward his wingman, gets behind the German fighter. Fires. The FW-190 explodes. Carr escorts his damaged wingman all the way back to Allied territory. They make it back. The damaged Mustang lands safely. 3 confirmed kills. 1 pilot saved. 0 losses. The citation for Carr's Silver Star reads, "For gallantry in action against an armed enemy. On this date, Lieutenant Carr displayed exceptional courage and flying skill when, despite being outnumbered, he led his flight in an attack against a superior enemy force." Second highest combat decoration for valor. October 29, 1944. Carr downs to be F-109s over Germany during a bomber escort mission. Total confirmed kills, 7.5. He's officially an ace. 5 or more confirmed aerial victories. Carr is 20 years old. Now we return to April 2, 1945. Schweinfurt 4 P-51s versus 60 German fighters. The moment that will define Bruce Carr's war. By April 1945, Germany is collapsing. The Red Army is approaching Berlin from the east. American and British forces are crossing the Rhine from the west. The Luftwaffe is disintegrating. Fuel shortages, pilot losses, equipment failures. But 60 aircraft is 60 aircraft. The formation Carr is looking at consists of Bf-109G 10s and FW-190 D9s. These are the latest variants. The G10 is the fastest 109 ever produced, capable of 428 miles per hour at altitude. The D9, nicknamed the Long-Nosed Dora, is powered by an inline Jumo 213 engine. Top speed, 426 miles per hour. These are not obsolete aircraft. These are Germany's best fighters. The pilots? Relatively inexperienced. The Luftwaffe's training pipeline has been hemorrhaging since 1943. New pilots receive minimal flight hours before being thrown into combat, but they're still dangerous. 60 aircraft can overwhelm 4, regardless of pilot skill. Carr keys his radio. Engaging. His wingmen don't question. They've flown with Carr for months. They trust his judgment. The 4 Mustangs climb 15,000 feet, 16,000, 17,000, closing the altitude gap. Carr positions his flight below and behind the German formation. Classic attack position. He selects his target, a Bf-109 on the outside of the formation. Isolated, vulnerable. He fires. 650 caliber machine guns converge on the 109. The German pilot never sees the attack. The aircraft disintegrates. The German formation reacts, but they don't know how many attackers there are. They don't know where the fire came from. Some break left, some break right, some dive. No coordination. Carr shifts to his next target, an FW-190 attempting to climb. He leads the target, fires. 3-second burst. The FW-190's engine explodes. To Dune. Carr's wingmen are engaging now. Tracers crisscrossing the sky. German fighters scattering in every direction. Carr finds his third target, another Bf-109. This one diving, trying to escape. Carr follows. The Mustang is faster in a dive. He closes the distance, fires. The 109's tail section separates. 3 down, 4th target. An FW-190 that's turning to fight. The German pilot is skilled. He's reversing hard, trying to get behind Carr. Turning fight at 80,000 feet. Carr uses the Mustang's superior power-to-weight ratio. He extends vertically, climbs, rolls, comes down behind the FW-190, fires. The German fighter trails, smoke, noses over, crashes. 4 down. 4 down. 5th target. A Bf-109 attempting to regroup with other German fighters. Carr intercepts, fires. The 109's cockpit shatters. The aircraft inverts and falls. 5 down. Carr checks his ammunition. Low, maybe 30 rounds per gun remaining. He checks his fuel. Adequate, but they've been fighting for 6 minutes at combat power. He keys his radio. Break off. Head west. His wingmen disengage. The German formation, what's left of it, is scattered across 30 miles of German airspace. Final tally. 15 German fighters destroyed, 5 by Carr, 10 by his wingmen. 4 American aircraft, 0 losses. The 4 Mustangs turn for home. April 9th, 1945. 1 week later, Bruce Carr is promoted to captain. He's 21 years old. The Distinguished Service Cross arrives with a citation. Captain Bruce W. Carr distinguished himself by extraordinary heroism, completely disregarding his personal safety and the enemy's overwhelming numerical superiority. He led his element in a direct attack on the hostile force, personally destroying 5 enemy aircraft, second only to the Medal of Honor. Bruce Carr becomes the last ace in a day in the European theater of World War II. No American pilot will match his feat before Germany surrenders 1 month later. By the end of the war, he's flown 172 combat missions, accumulated 14 to 15 confirmed aerial victories, plus numerous ground kills. He's 21 years old. Now, here's where the legend gets complicated, and where we need to separate what happened from what people wish happened. May 1945, the war in Europe is over. Germany has surrendered. Allied forces occupy former German airfields. Aircraft sit abandoned. Bruce Carr is stationed at one of these newly captured airfields near Linz, Austria. On the tarmac sits a Focke-Wulf FW-190. The FW-190 is Germany's premier fighter, first deployed in 1941. It outclassed the Spitfire so thoroughly that British pilots filed reports questioning whether the Germans had deployed an entirely new type of aircraft. German pilots called it Wörger the Butcher Bird. Standardarmament, two 30mm MG-131 machine guns in the cowling, four 20mm MG-151 cannons in the wings. Maximum speed 408 miles per hour. A deadly machine. Carr looks at the FW-190. The war is over. There's no combat mission, just curiosity. What's it like to fly the aircraft he's been fighting for the past year? He climbs into the cockpit. Everything is in German. Every label, every gauge, every switch. But some things are universal. Throttle on the left, control stick on the right. Carr finds what looks like the starter, an inertia starter. Mechanical, he winds it up, pulls the handle. The BMW 801 radial roars to life. 1,700 horsepower. Carr has an escort. Two squadron mates, flying P-51s. They're curious too. He taxis to the runway, pushes the throttle forward. The FW-190 accelerates quickly. At 90 miles per hour, Carr pulls back on the stick. The aircraft leaps into the air. For 20 minutes, he flies the FW-190 over the Austrian countryside, testing the controls, feeling how it responds, comparing it to the Mustang. Then comes the landing. Carr lines up for approach. He reaches for the landing gear lever, pulls it. Nothing happens. He tries again. Nothing. The FW-190's landing gear operates on hydraulic pressure. There's a selector valve. Carr doesn't know this. The labels are in German. He's been pulling the wrong handle. Below him, the runway is clear. He has one option. Belly landing. He lowers the flaps, cuts the throttle. The FW-190 sinks toward the runway. 100 feet, 50 feet, 20 feet. The aircraft hits the grass beside the runway at 90 miles per hour. The belly scrapes. The propeller blades bend, shatter. The aircraft slides for 300 yards. It grinds to a stop. Carr climbs out. His squadron mates land their P-51s, run over. Did you just belly land a German fighter? Carr shrugs. Couldn't figure out the landing gear. That's the real story. Not stolen from an active enemy airfield under fire. Not a dramatic escape through enemy territory. Just a post-war joyride that ended with a belly landing because the controls were in German. The other version, the legend, would come later. Bar stories. Embellishments. The dramatic tale of being shot down, evading capture, stealing an enemy fighter, and flying it back while being shot at by both sides. It's a better story. More dramatic, more heroic, but it's not what happened. Veterans from the 354th Fighter Group would eventually ask Carr to stop telling the dramatic version. It wasn't true. It diminished what he actually accomplished, and what he actually accomplished was remarkable enough without embellishment. 4 versus 60. 5 kills. Last ace in a day. Distinguished Service Cross. That's the real legacy. The Army Air Forces becomes the United States Air Force in 1947. Carr stays in uniform. He joins the Acrojets, America's first jet aerobatic demonstration team, flying P-80 Shooting Stars. Then Korea. Captain Bruce Carr deploys with the 336th Fighter Interceptor Squadron. They're flying F-86 Sabres. He flies 57 combat missions in Korea. 1955-56. Carr commands the 336th Fighter Interceptor Squadron. Colonel's eagles on his shoulders. Then Vietnam. By 1968, Bruce Carr is 44 years old. Most men his age are flying desks, working staff positions, counting the days until retirement. Colonel Carr volunteers for combat duty. In Vietnam, he flies F-100 Super Sabres. The Hun pilots call it a supersonic fighter bomber capable of 864 miles per hour. Colonel Carr flies 286 combat missions in Vietnam. At 44 years old, he's one of the oldest active combat pilots in theater. Colonel Bruce Ward Carr retires from the United States Air Force after 31 years of service. Final tally: 515 combat missions, 3 wars, multiple combat decorations, Distinguished Service Cross, Silver Star, Legion of Merit, Distinguished Flying Cross with clusters, Air Medal with clusters, Purple Heart. He settles in St. Cloud, Florida. 1 year before his death, Kermit Week's Fantasy of Flight Museum in Florida invites Carr for an air show. They have a P-51D Mustang. Fully restored, would Colonel Carr like to fly it? Carr is 73 years old. He arrives at the airfield, climbs into the cockpit, the same cockpit he flew 50 years earlier. The aircraft is Angel's Playmate 2, painted identically to his original aircraft. Carr starts the engine. The Rolls-Royce Merlin roars to life. 1,490 horsepower. The same sound he heard hundreds of times over Germany. He comes in over the crowd at 300 knots, 50 feet off the deck. For 15 minutes, Carr flies the Mustang like he's 21 again. Loops, rolls, high G turns. When he lands, the crowd erupts. Standing ovation. Someone asks him what he was thinking up there. Carr shrugs. Same thing I was always thinking. What's the airplane capable of? What am I capable of? Let's find out. April 25th, 1998. St. Cloud, Florida. Bruce Ward Carr dies of prostate cancer. He's 74 years old. They bury him in Arlington National Cemetery, Section 64, Grave 69, among the heroes of every American war since the Revolution. The headstone lists his rank, Colonel, United States Air Force. It lists his decorations, Distinguished Service Cross, Silver Star, Legion of Merit, Distinguished Flying Cross, with clusters, Air Medal, with clusters, Purple Heart. It lists his wars, World War II, Korea, Vietnam. It doesn't mention it doesn't mention Schweinfurt. It doesn't need to, because here's the thing about Bruce Carr's story. There are 2 versions. The first is the legend, the dramatic tale that's been repeated in bars and books for decades. Shot down over enemy territory, stealing a German fighter, flying back while being shot at by both sides. It's a great story. But it's not what happened. The second version is the documented record. The ace with 15 kills, the Silver Star for attacking 30 German fighters with 3 wingmen, the Distinguished Service Cross for leading 4 aircraft against 60, the pilot who flew 515 combat missions across 3 wars, the man who, at 73 years old, climbed into a P-51 and flew it like he was 21 again. Both make for good stories. Only one is true. But here's what's remarkable. The true story doesn't need embellishment. September 12, 1944. 4 American pilots attack 30 German fighters. Carr destroys 3. 7-to-1 odds. They won. April 2nd, 1945. 4 American pilots attack 60 German fighters. Carr destroys 5. 15-to-1 odds. They won. Not because Bruce Carr was reckless, because he calculated risk better than anyone else, because he understood his capabilities, his aircraft's performance, and his opponent's psychology. Every time Carr attacked overwhelming odds, he won because he knew something his opponents didn't. He knew the Mustang could outperform the German fighters in specific circumstances. He knew surprise and aggression could overcome numerical superiority. He knew that most pilots, when attacked unexpectedly, react defensively. He knew all this because he'd tested it. That's the pattern. Not recklessness. Not luck. Calculated risk based on tested knowledge. Bruce Carr spent his entire life asking the same question. What's possible? At 15, he asked. Can a farm kid from New York learn to fly? Yes. At 18, he asked, can I become a fighter pilot? Yes. At 20, he asked, can 4 aircraft attack 30 and win? Yes. At 21, he asked, can 4 aircraft attack 60 and win? Yes. At 73, he asked, Can I still fly a Mustang like I'm Yes. Every time, the answer was yes. Because Bruce Carr didn't accept limitations. This did them, and when the tests proved the limitations were wrong, he ignored them. That's the Bruce Carr story. Not the stolen fighter. Not the dramatic escape. Not the legend that grew in the retelling. The story is simpler and more profound. A pilot who looked at impossible odds and asked, "What else can I do?" and then did it. April 2nd, 1945. 4P51. Mustangs versus 60 German fighters. 15-1 odds. Every manual says retreat. Bruce Carr says engaging. 7 minutes later, 15 German fighters are destroyed. 4 American fighters return home safely, the last ace in a day in the European theater of World War II. Not because the odds were good, because Bruce Carr made them good. 515 combat missions. 3 wars. 31 years of service. Bruce Ward Carr. Fighter pilot. Leader. Legend. Not because of the stories people told about him, because of what he actually did. 4 versus 60. He attacked, he won. Some things don't need embellishment.